won't be in.
Okay, great.
She contacted me too.
Mark's gonna be late.
Yeah, Mark's gonna be late.
And, yeah, that's it. Can we make a motion to excuse Arlene?
And you can do that administratively too, if you want.
Yeah, let's just excuse Arlene and Cynthia, and maybe we can talk about Cynthia. If we need to here.
And Mark too, right?
And Mark will be here shortly, I believe. Okay, welcome to the Community Engagement Commission. We have 2 new official members. Yay! All right, let's do a little introduction. Logan, would you like to say a little bit about yourself, and we can go around and introduce ourselves to you too.
Sure, yeah. Name's Logan Langford, been in Liberty Lake since 2019.
Cool.
Graduated from Boise State and had an internship up here during college from Boise State with Laddie Construction, and always been super involved with community. And last year I had a goal to donate blood at least 6 times and get involved with community, so I achieved that. So this year I was just looking for the next step. So saw the opening on
We'll draw blood too.
That's fine. That's fine.
Right, about 6 times a year.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, happy to be here.
Cool. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, Summer Darrow, I've been here since 2018 as well. And boy, we've been having fun in this group and getting some things done. It'll be nice when Mark's here too, but we've had a few changes throughout since our beginning. A few have come in, a few have left, but this has been us for a little bit.
Yeah.
Bill Norman. My wife and I moved back to Spokane in 2014 when I retired. We had lived here for, about 8 years earlier in our life. And after a 13-year stint in Seattle, we were glad to come back to Spokane. My involvement with the Community Engagement Committee began in late 2022, I think. Forget. But that also was an effort to it's a wonderful place to live, and I just wanted to be wanted to contribute to that.
Robin Beckedall, and my husband and I lived here about since 2010 in Liberty Lake. There's not much to me, I promise.
I'm a relative newcomer. I'm Leah Stussy. I just moved here Labor Day weekend in 2024. Moved here for work. I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones Investments. Took over an office here where a gentleman was retiring. Have a lot of background in volunteerism. My husband's been a volunteer firefighter for 22 years, 19 years with Ephrata Fire. And I was very involved with that as well. Do like community outreach projects, touch a truck, food drives, community education, fundraisers, all sorts of things. And being from a small community in Central Washington, like you have to be involved to make things happen. And so I just want to do my part here and get to know people and become a part of the community. And what a better way than to just dive right in, right?
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. I think we've all learned a lot just with the presentations that have come to us and just the things that are put in front of us. Things that I definitely wouldn't have known about unless they were shown to me through this. Even if it was just once a month sitting here, the things I've learned are pretty cool. The agenda for tonight. Can we get an approval on the agenda and the minutes?
Or
Tonight's agenda.
So you need a motion.
Yep.
I move to approve the agenda and minutes from March 19th.
Second.
actually, I just have one correction for that. Just Commissioner Normal. Oh, well, I hope that's, where do I have that? It's on the March 19th meeting minutes, approvals. Under approvals, the second item. I'll fix it. I'll take note. Bill is not normal. That
was close. We almost got that through, guys.
I actually have on the agenda Mayor, Chris had said last night she was going to attend the meeting if, and when she comes and we need to find, I believe, a spot that we can reshuffle the agenda and have her speak so that she's not here another late extended night.
Agree.
Sure. Do we have any any updates about her stopping by or anything?
I talked with her an hour ago for going away for Kelsey Hardy. She's fine to come here late anyway. She's fine with it.
Okay, great. Okay.
Okay.
All right,
I move that we approve our meetings from March 19th with that single correction.
Well, she did the motion.
Okay.
Oh, but he.
Okay, so you're amending.
Amended it.
He's moving
Okay,
to
I
correct
got
it.
Let's make this as hard as we can.
yeah, let's make it more difficult.
So who is making the motion?
I made the motion, the revised motion.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Approve as amended. right?
Wow, thank goodness. Public comments. Do we have any public comments here or online? Cool. Yee. City Hall updates,
I'm not
David.
going to spend much time on this. You were all at the city council meeting last night, so I don't need to update you on that. The only thing I'll say, unless anybody has questions on my roundup here, is if any, I would like to plug again City Academy. Starting a week from Thursday, it'd be a great way to find out the other components of city operations for like Leah and Logan. If you want to find out more about some of the things going on, you don't have to sign up for the whole series, but we do have the list on the website about what's happening on each night. And I heard last night the first session may be actually happening here at City Hall instead of Trailhead, but I'm going to consult with our city administrator to make sure we got the right location. Everything else will be on site at the library, at the police station, fire hall, et cetera.
And that
Did
first
they
one was
do it on
property
Zoom at
taxes?
all?
Hmm?
Do they do it on Zoom at all, or is it all in
No,
person?
This is all in person. We've had a couple of our group has done that and
It is.
fourth time around.
It is awesome, and I recommend it to every chance I get to anyone who lives in Liberty Lake. They do an excellent job. Everything from how a city is funded to, of course, the workings of the fire department and the police department and waste management. It really is good stuff.
Registration available on the homepage. Just go through the news rotation and you'll find a link to it.
And I would say too, that we're still doing, you can drop into each
Yep.
individual one. To me, it's like a adult field trip and you can ask any question you want. I mean, like each individual one was awesome. I mean, you get a real serious view of the whole thing and a very in-depth view of what each individual thing is, but at the same time, it's like a very small group and you really get a chance to stick around, ask questions, get personal with people. So I would say that if you don't have time to do all of it, if there's any of it that you can, it was really helpful and a great way also to meet people with similar interests. Anything else on the updates? Okay, discussions and business, Parks and Rec Plan presentation.
Evan, do we have them online?
I'm sorry, guys, I'm on this like 10-week cough situation and I'm like at 30% by the time I get some of them.
I'm hearing something.
I had it for like a month.
I'm not kidding, 10 weeks, I just wish it would go away.
I heard a slight voice.
Looks like I'm fine and I have a coughing fit and then I just came and think for an hour. Who needs
For
oxygen?
the guys in the back room of the room, isn't government operations thrilling?
Relatively, yes.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
Okay, fabulous. Sorry, I don't know what's going on, but I'm glad you can hear me now. So, thank you all for letting me come to your meeting tonight. My name is Jen Dial, and I am the project manager working on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. I'm with a local consulting firm called SCJ Alliance, based right here in Spokane. I'm actually from Spokane and have spent a lot of time in Liberty Lake and in your park system with my own kiddos. So really excited to be on this project and get an opportunity to work with all of you and coordinate on it. So with that said, now that you can all hear me, I do have a presentation that I will share. Okay. Can you all see that?
It looks like Mark Saba is joining us now.
And just a thumbs up or a head nod, everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what I'd like to do tonight is just give you a little bit of an overview of what's involved with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, let you know who's on the team, what it's all about. And then we'll spend the majority of this presentation talking about our public participation plan and how we can all work together and coordinate throughout the process. So you're meeting me tonight. I am the PM and the main point of contact, working with Jen and others on this, but we have a whole host of others that are going to be supporting this process. Chris that you see on the slide here, he's a very experienced landscape architect that's done a ton of parks plans throughout Washington State. And so he'll be looking at doing some of the site assessment and inventory work. Lauren is also based here in Spokane. She's leading the public engagement effort and has developed that public participation plan. Corey's going to be doing a lot of the mapping and representing spatially some of the information that we find. And then Josh is going to be doing some schematic and park design as that's appropriate for thinking about park improvements. And Jay is going to essentially make everything graphically pleasing to the eye and make all of our marketing materials for our outreach campaign. So just a quick overview of what we're up to with the Parks and Rec Master Plan. This is essentially what we're looking at for the scope. So we're going to start with the basics and update the community profile. I mean, the last time Liberty Lake updated their Parks and Master Plan was, really back in 2008 with a kind of a refresh in 2014. So the community has changed a lot. It's grown. There's been a lot of rapid growth. The demographics are different. And so we're looking at some of that local and regional context and demographic information. We're going to do a scrub of all of the current policies and procedures and see what needs and enhancing, what needs updates. We'll go out to the park system itself and do a physical inventory. And that inventory is going to look at everything from the condition of the amenities and the assets to the types of parks, how many are passive recreation, how many are active recreation, what are the size of the parks, where are they located in the overall system, and that all of that. Level of service standards is something that we're looking at updating as well to make sure that some of the guidelines for creating those enhancements are reflective of the kind of the qualitative data that we get from the community throughout this process. And then lastly, we'll revamp the vision and mission if we see that comes out of the public engagement process. And we'll make sure those goals and policies are reflective of some of the current state guidelines. And we'll finally offer some recommendations for you and the rest of the city staff to consider. all of the planning process is really grounded in these three things. Ideally, we would like this plan to set the city up for success if leveraging of funding is a goal. And when you're thinking about future park improvements or acquisition or anything like that, the Recreation and Conservation Office is one example of what that funding leverage could look like. They have a lot of grant programs, and if we structure the plan in a certain way, it meets their requirements and sets you up for success for a 6-year timeline of eligibility with RCO. The Growth Management Act, state planning mandate, also has some parameters for how a parks plan is done, and we're going to make sure that the plan meets those needs so that the city's on track in that regard, and that it's just concurrent with any other strategic plans or comprehensive plans within the city, so that this is kind of can be seamlessly integrated. And both of those objectives really are grounded in the understanding that outreach is essential to all of that this planning process is yours. It's the residents of Liberty Lakes, and it needs to be tailored and unique to the community for it to be successful. So those are kind of three main objectives of the process. And one thing I'm really excited to talk to you all about is using some of SCJ's tools for engagement. We have a variety of kind of activities and methods that we typically approach a planning process with. I know all of you probably have a lot of creative ideas too, and have that intimate knowledge of Liberty Lake that's going to make this process that much better. So the bulleted list that you see here is a few ideas of how we intend to engage the community, and are some areas where I think we can all work together. So, we're looking at doing some engagement pop-ups and some drop-in workshops over the summer. I could see, this commission helping kind of inform what those outreach activities could look like. You could help promote those events. Identifying some of the key outreach channels, those organizations and those key stakeholders who are really invested in the community and are going to want to be involved. We want to make sure that we've identified those appropriately and welcome your feedback on that. And so developing those lists of organizations and partners that can help us promote all of this. Ideal community events for where to host things and where to meet people, where they're most likely to be, where we can, connect with the broadest audience and the most residents. And specifically, I know the Parks and Arts Commission is looking to do some renovations at Pavilion Park, and they have some engagement ideas there. There's definitely opportunity for us to work together to promote that objective along with the overall parks plan. So excited to hear from you about all this. I'll finish the presentation and we can hopefully have a moment for some comments and questions on that. Another piece that, is really exciting for me as a planner is not every parks and recreation plan includes art. And that was part of the request from the city, is that we look at the overall park inventory and see where there might be gaps in the system and some opportunities for both engaging the community on what kind of art displays would be powerful and resonate with the community, where they should be located, and opportunities for being creative with that. So I just wanted you to know that's part of the overall process. We're not just looking at playgrounds, but also at all types of community art. And then kind of the meat of tonight is really to share with you our draft public participation plan. So we like to initiate this before we start any engagement process to help identify what is our approach, where are we going to do it, how are we going to do it, who's our key audience, all of those things. And this plan is a public facing document. It can be shared with the public to inform them that the community is kicking off this event. They can be involved, that we want them to be involved, and they have access to the information, and it's very transparent how they can participate. So, some of the communication channels that we intend to touch base with the community through our, Liberty Lakes website. I know you have that Zen City kind of mapping software platform on your site, which is a really fun tool. I'm excited that you all have that. There's the typical kind of social media channels and, you know, the newspaper and email and mailers. And I'm hoping to hear from all of you if there's anything that we've missed on this list that would be an effective tool for communicating. We've talked about like the city's reader board and just putting flyers up at the library and other businesses and locations around town. So, you know, please, we're open to your suggestions on that. The types of things that we hope to engage the public about is really all of it. We're looking at the park system. We're looking at the programming and activities that take place in the park system. We're looking at the trail inventory, the kind of connectivity of the bicycle network, how folks get to and from the park system, you know, how accessible are they? Are there any particular desired improvements or enhancements? Is there anything missing or that would really make Liberty Lakes Parks special? I've already heard people are interested in pickleball, you know, things like that is what we're hoping to hear from the community about. So some of the methods that we've identified to solicit that information, we've already started doing some just foundational staff interviews with Liberty Lake staff to kind of develop just a context for understanding what the current system has, what some of the staff sees as maybe maintenance needs or issues and opportunities in the system. We're going to try and do some stakeholder interviews as well. So would love your thoughts and suggestions on who may be the best stakeholders to talk to. We're having a kickoff workshop. You'll all receive a flyer for that really soon. That's going to be on May 22nd. Drop-in hours from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Trailhead Event Center. So would love your help promoting that, and you'll get a flyer. So we'll be sure that you're informed ahead of time and can put that on your calendars if you can make it. And then, you know, we'll be doing surveys. We'll do one survey at the initial kind of onset when that kickoff workshop happens on May 22nd, and that'll be available. We'll have paper copies, we'll have online copies, and we'll collate all those results and look at kind of the visioning process for the park system. And then later on in the park and master plan process, we'll do a second survey that's looking more at some draft recommendations and trying to drill down a little bit into the specifics for enhancements in the system. And then there will be a variety of deliverables that come out of this process so that everybody can kind of follow along with the results as we're going through it. Every time we do a survey, there will be results that we'll share back with Liberty Lake staff and all of you in the community. The same thing goes for the workshop. We'll collate all of the, you know, results that come out of, like, these are pictures on here of, you know, the sticker dot voting exercises and things like that. We'll make sure that we develop some data points for all of you to understand the results of that. And so you'll see a variety of results come out of this process throughout the summer. And lastly, this is just a kind of a snapshot of what that timeline looks like. We've kind of kicked off the interview process and the public participation plan. And then especially with this beautiful weather we're having, we're looking to get started on getting out into the community and talking to folks about this process. So that'll take place essentially over the summer months. And we hope to have a lot of these results summarized and resulting in some recommendations by early September. So that was a lot of information to cover. I hope that wasn't too fast, but that's what I have for you tonight, and I'm happy to answer questions and hear your thoughts.
I have a question.
Go
Can I
ahead.
go?
Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Robin Beckadal, and one of the things with on the surveys and the different surveys that we are doing, I mean, I know that we have one that's happening from the library, we have community satisfaction surveys, we've had surveys done in the past. Can you integrate any of that information with what you're doing now for these plans? You know,
Sure.
sometimes you end up with sort of survey burnout. The public,
Yeah.
didn't I just do a survey on something and trying to prevent that? I mean, is there a way that you can integrate that?
To the best of our ability, I would love to do that because you're right. Survey fatigue is a real thing and it can create confusion. The Spokane County is also updating their parks plan. And I know they're doing a survey right now. So we've talked with the county specifically about making sure that, we can not duplicate efforts and perhaps we can incorporate some of their questions into the Liberty Lake survey so they don't feel they have to separately engage with the Liberty Lake residents on it and trying to just be strategic about that. So if we can do that with some of the other surveys without making it too long, I'd be happy to explore that. I know we've talked about doing that with the Pavilion Park survey that has been floated around and just including Pavilion Park specific questions in our survey rather than doing two. So, yeah, I'd be happy if you can put me in touch with, who's doing some of the other surveys to see how we can coordinate.
Do we have even a picture, or did we actually take the Post-it notes that were at Pavilion Park we had a very informal, anyone could put their suggestions for Pavilion Park improvements on sticky notes. A lot of them were children generated. There were the usual, we want a pool at the park, but there were a lot of really great ideas. And I think overall it was a really, it was useful information. And even just having an image of that, I think there was a lot of people who really enjoyed participating in that and seeing that there was some, it wasn't just a fun little moment that somebody cared about that, I think would be valuable.
That was the one that was done
At Barefoot Park.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very informative.
And it was mostly our residents probably, but there were certainly people from other areas and some different perspectives. But again, just kind of on that note of survey burnout, I think a lot of the times we do these sort of informal questions, like even our flip charts and things like that. And we have a lot of really valuable information because people are not in hardcore survey mode and we get some really creative ideas. So I'd like to start maybe tracking some of those things or at least passing those on to the appropriate people when we can.
I think the more interactive it can become, I think, then the better information too that we can get.
And site specific too. I mean,
And
at
site.
Pavilion, people were looking at the existing playground and what everything was right then, and that they sat there for a minute and kind of said, "Oh, I guess we don't. Oh, I guess we do have those over there." So I saw it in one of the slides too, but especially meeting people where they are physically in location, I think is very helpful a lot of the times for these.
I agree. I have another question. So I live in an area, the River District, and so it has like pocket parks that are owned by the homeowners development. Are you going to include that in your assessment?
Yeah, so our inventory will include city-owned and managed facilities, but it'll also take into context those HOA parks, the parklets, even the Spokane County Regional Park. Just looking at the broader system and, where folks have access and how that system kind of works together to provide open space and natural and recreational experiences. And just to that last point on the sticky notes, if that's recent data that you think we can roll up into kind of the results that we're looking at and reflect in this planning process, I'd be happy to explore that.
Great. And again, I think even just some of that too, just the imagery of it, I think was really powerful because it was just a bunch of different color things with little kids handwriting and drawings and that sort of thing, I think was really tying together the real message of community engagement, and it was at the park. So I think we do have some of that, some form of that to get over to you.
Okay.
There was also some power just implicit in the fact that we did get responses from children,
Yeah, yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. You know, we hope to do some of these pop-up engagement activities and ideally doing them at the park, like you all talked about, where, you know, people are experiencing the place you're referring to in the moment. It makes those results so fresh and real. So we'll intend to do that too with some of our pop-up engagement.
I wonder if we might get some support from HOAs that would be willing to have a pop-up event in the park that belongs to the HOA and even advertise it to their members. I think we underutilize that feature of our community.
We do, and we should try and do, I think, more cooperative and partnerships with the HOAs.
And maybe there's something to sort of very loosely gamify something. A lot of these pocket parks and things have names, and I could probably name a few of them, and others here could name the ones near them, and otherwise we couldn't probably place them on a map, like a pin the tail on the donkey, probably very well. So maybe there's something in the education of where these different places are, or what the features currently are, or things like that. I think that could be fun, something along those lines.
Yeah, I like that idea. That I know, you know, one of the tools SCJ uses, we call it Social Pinpoint. It's very similar to the Zen City tool. I think you all have on your website, but it allows, you know, participants to place locations on a map of like where they frequently go or where they think a park should be or where they know there's a need for improvement in the system or something. And there's a spatial component to it, which is kind of a fun way to show the results and just to engage with people. So that could be an interesting way to kind of incorporate that pocket park knowledge base.
Yeah, I just think the more interaction where they can do something physically, whether it be, I'm all into dots and things, but something of that nature, you're going to get more responses.
I think it'd be good to engage with some of the local service clubs like Kiwanis and Rotary. Go speak at their meetings, just kind of tell them what we're doing, or somebody from the Parks Commission could go do that and just kind of talk to them about what's going on. But they also put on a lot of events, and there would be great opportunity to get out in front of the public that way, because I believe Kiwanis puts on movies in the park during the summer. I don't know, a couple times a month, don't they? And then Rotary has Memorial Weekend. We have the big pancake breakfast where we're expecting 500 to 700 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then in the fall, there's the Rim Ride, which that's a bicycle race. That's another probably at least 300 to 500 people. So just trying to reach out with some of those community partners and see if we can kind of get outreach there and presence there.
Kiwanis also heavily involved with Barefoot in the Park,
Mm-hmm.
which bring in a slew of people during that day.
And
Mark?
doesn't Rocky Hill have the food truck nights?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thursday
so
nights.
setting up at like
Mhm.
that and maybe putting out a booth when it's the big yard sale weekend, you know, just kind of, I know that's a lot of presence out there and a lot of time and volunteerism, but if we kind of strategically picked a few of those to go to, I think that'd be a great way to get in front of the public without having to, you know, put together a town hall and hope people that hope people show up and just kind of meet them where they are.
Exactly, yeah.
And farmer's market, certainly.
Yes,
Farmers.
absolutely.
Is it
Um,
4th of July?
Is it okay is it okay if I
Oh, hi.
offer some?
Ben?
This is Jen.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, if you would like, we can help you in those, because we know which event is happening where and when and who's involved. We'd be happy to help, get that information out, whatever it is, flyers or whatever information, tables to set up, at all of the events, because we know what all of the events are, and we can update you on when the events are coming, when they are, who's managing them, and we can help get that information out at that time. Does that help? We have,
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
really help. Yes.
so we can be that connection to help not only with SCJ, but with getting the community engagement information out at those particular events.
That'd be great.
Thanks, Jen. That would be wonderful. All of us partnering on this, I think, I wasn't tracking on the pancake breakfast and the food truck night. Those are fun, particularly the pancake breakfast. I think we probably could engage with some children. It's always nice to hear the youthful voice.
The Liberty
So
Days, Mark, at 4th of July,
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right.
that's huge
Yeah.
when I've been out there and on the parade
Yeah,
and
we got the
everything.
community parade, we got the boat parade, we got the movies at the concert at the park. And that's through the Kiwanis. And then we got the fireworks. Yeah.
That would be
Very,
huge. And
very
if we
good
can
idea. Forgot
get
about
that help from the Parks Department and the setup, I think that would be a tremendous help.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jen, for that.
And I know we had, one of the slides, there was a, branding about this. I think if we kind of understand what this, master plan looks like branding wise, we can champion that, more easily as well.
yeah, I'll show, I think I have a copy of, is it showing the flyer here?
Yep.
Yeah, so this is kind of the draft flyer just to promote that engagement kickoff event I was referring to on May 22nd. So we've got kind of this logo up here. We've got the city's logo down at the bottom.
Awesome.
So, and like Jen said, we can produce the materials and with the help of the city to make sure, we have fun flyers and marketing material to promote the events.
Is there a way that we could possibly get a copy of that presentation?
Of the PowerPoint?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you bet.
Oh,
I can send it to David when we're done here.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Cause like you said, there was a lot to digest there. And me being a slow one,
Yeah.
you have to go back and go over it a little bit more.
Yes, and we can make sure you all get copies of the public participation plan as well if you don't have that already. And so you can flip through the actual document that the PowerPoint's talking about as well.
Perfect.
And I guess if we're needed in any way, prior to the kickoff event for anything related to the kickoff event, I would say feel free to reach out so we can be helpful in any sort of way. Not sure what that looks like yet, but if there's anything in that vein, let us know.
Wonderful, thank you.
Anyone else have anything? Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. City council workshop from last night.
Wow. Did that backfire on us?
Or did it?
Well, I don't know. I think we went in with a different thought than what the city had coming back to us, but then Winter Glow was brought up and that kind of saved the day, I
Sure,
think,
yeah.
but, I was unaware that the library part is so far behind. I thought they were farther along with it, but I guess not, so. Go ahead, Bill.
So this, as I've been thinking about this and all of the effort that we made to try to anticipate what the city council wanted us to do, never having received any
No
indication
information,
from the city
right.
council about what that was.
Yeah,
And also sort of taking note of what the other presenters were doing. I came away and my first thought is I'm not really a fan of workshops with the city council. My second thought is that if we're invited to do them and we ask for a specific indication of what they want from us, if we get that, wonderful. If we don't, we should, without hesitation or compunction, prepare what we think is important without trying to read their minds. And then we'll show up and either we'll present what we expect or we won't.
mhm.
And I really don't fault the city council with all they have on their
Oh, no,
plates.
no, I wasn't faulting them at all.
And I thought it was instructive. I would wager, this is a fruitless wager, that if the Winter Glow had not been a topic last night, there would have been little or no discussion on our part
No.
of
it
that
wouldn't be.
event.
No,
And if we had moved ahead with our intention to stir up town hall for the city center area in the library, it would have been shut down just as it was last night. And so we would have been left with, plan B, whatever that was. So
Hunt.
yeah, really. So I'm a little less uptight about workshops than I was before. More willing to go prepared with what we think is right and then take what comes and not worry about it so much and not advocate for ever doing one again. I figure if we've got stuff we want to present to them, we can raise our hand. But other than that, that was a trial.
It was a unique opportunity.
I just, for the two of you, our last version of that was all of us sitting around with our own little nameplates, us and them all together in some normal workshop fashion.
And that was the only thing on the agenda.
Yes, that was it. So show up, we do a joint meeting workshop. We came with, still new to us, still trying to figure out what it is they want us to do. What do we, whatever.
but there was good dialogue.
Yeah.
at
Yes,
That one,
uh,
whereas, yes, last night, the dialogue wasn't as positive as we wanted it to be.
and I mean,
That's why I was an advocate from the beginning to have our workshop on an off
Yes.
night.
sure, and we tried.
And we tried.
We
and
tried.
We got shot down and we're stuck in between four
But-
subjects. that
Protective
a
footwear.
it was a time constraint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We were
that-
rushed.
That meeting had so much on the agenda
Oh, it
last
was
night that I
terrible.
was,
And they added to it. I
Yeah.
don't know. I left right after our workshop, but they still had another workshop to go through, plus all the general information. I don't know what time it ever ended up getting done.
But what we have
Well,
now
it's here till
before
next
us is with the Winter Glow, and at least they gave us some direction.
I was gonna say, it ended up working out
Yeah,
great and we have an
that's where
action.
we have to go next is Winter Glow and, I have some thoughts on it.
Uh,
Okay, so just a quick read of the room here.
Go ahead.
We've got maybe Chris coming at some
I think
point.
she's online.
She's on
Here.
one.
Chris, hi,
Are you online,
Hello,
Chris K?
Mayor Chris.
Mayor Chris.
That's fine.
Okay, I just wanted to, if we were gonna, go ahead, Mark.
After listening to city council last night, one thing was brought up. I think they're living in a fairy tale world, not a reality world is what I mean. winter glow for 2025 will be smaller than it was in 2026. Let's be honest. The manpower or woman power or people power will not be there. We all know that. And I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm just trying to be realistic. What city council was looking at there was only one city council member that embraced it. And Dan brought, he was spot on. But the others they're thinking, like one city council member, I won't mention any names, but mentioned, we ought to light up the whole city. It's like, okay, it gets done. Well, we don't have the people to light
No.
up the city. It's a great idea. In theory, it's a fantastic idea, but in reality, it is not, because there's electrical, there's structure, like Jen brought up, someone suggested we need to do it at Pavilion Park. We have to do, next
Trailhead.
thing you know, it's gonna be Rocky Hills, and then, and then they talked about the golf course. I gotta tell you, we've been going to Orchard Park for 6 years now. Every year we've upgraded and enhanced the electrical there, just for winter glow, not just for winter glow, but for other things throughout the park. But but for the most part, for winter glow, you just don't find a plug and plug it in and turn everything on. It doesn't work that way. But I think what we're gonna have to do is might have to get together with city council again, come together with some kind of thought on how we want to approach this. And I'm talking about our town hall.
Mhm.
I don't know if we want to do the town hall outside in May, like Cargill was suggesting.
Mhm.
I would say no,
Mhm.
it's gonna be cold.
Mhm.
People are still want to come indoors. But, we're gonna have to look at a volunteer base. And that's been since the beginning, that has been our nemesis.
Mhm.
We have not been able to get a volunteer base. The only volunteer, and Dave, I can respond back to your email, but I can tell you, we've got a base, I would say, after last night, I can count on my hand, maybe 7 of us from Winter Glow that would be still willing to help, but not as physical as it's like Corinne said last night, we aren't getting any younger. We're all in our 70s, we're all old.
How many
And-
did you have in the years past when you?
Well, when we
started?
first started, we had upwards of the Tratina came out in droves. We had, I would say our first day, we had over 50 volunteers there. And throughout the course of the 2 weeks prior, our base was about 25. And we had that park set the first week. So the second week, all we had to do was just, detail it out. That was our first 2 years. After that, it's been going. This last year, our base was 7 people. We had 7 people that worked, not on the week, we worked on the weekends, but I'm talking during the week when a lot of the detail is taken care of. The last 3 years, we've struggled to get everything out. If it doesn't get out, it didn't get out, unfortunately. But up until the opening ceremony on Saturday, we're still putting, connecting wires together and putting up displays and still, it's only because we were lacking manpower or people power.
So
And
you said it took about 1,800 hours of.
I think Mark was a little light on the hours.
1775. So really, how many volunteers do you think you need?
Honestly, when we had the inmates out there, to set up, we had 6 of them.
Mhm.
So, okay, that's 6 guys at 6 hours a day. We only work 6 hours a day.
Okay.
We work from 9 to 3. Honestly, if we want to do it right, you would need, and I'd have to sit down and really put a pencil to it, which I was planning on doing tonight because I'm meeting with Mikkel tomorrow, kind of go over things. But there's the Enchanted Forest, and I'm gonna just name the large displays we have there. The Enchanted Forest, the zoo, which is in the
Tennis
in
court.
the tennis court. We have the snowman showers, which is in the splash pad. We have the gingerbread house, which is around the concession stand. We have, let's see what else we have. We have the arches, which is along the walkway where the reader boards are now, the reader books. We have we also have 4 super mega trees that go up. They're the big 25 footers. And then we've also got 12 mega trees that we end up putting up. Then throughout the rest of the park, well, oh yeah, we also got the 3D animals that go out. And then we finish up with what we call 2D displays, which are just
Yeah.
put up throughout and yeah.
Go ahead. No, I'm just.
Oh, okay. And honestly, if you're looking at each display and you're putting up, and if you put people to them to put up the super megas, you'd probably need 10 people. And that's per tree. Okay.
But, so the thing, I've had little experience, but I have come with our church.
Mhm,
And we would spend, typically it's been a Saturday,
mhm.
and we would spend a day, well, not a day really, maybe 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours. And we were given a task. This last year was those big trees.
Yep.
And when we think in terms of how many volunteers we need, knowing that there will be very few volunteers that could be there every day, but there would be a lot more who could come for a day. Would it, I'm intrigued by the fact that you and the people who have been working on it have mapped it out in terms of displays, so there are this many. Could we approach the volunteerism part in a way that says, we would like your organization to be responsible for this?
That's exactly how we want us to get this set up, Bill. Like we have a huge train.
Mhm.
We'd put a group on that. That's your job, okay? The zoo, that's your job, okay?
If you gave us one of those, rather than having people sign up to come for a day, we would get more people. to
And
come
that's
over a
how
period of several days.
gotta approach this at possibly at the town hall. If we can get groups of, or organizations, or, we got the Girl Scouts who already
Yeah.
come out. The Mormon Church, which already come out. It needs to be more organized than it has been, there's one person that's ran it and everything is up here and nothing. I've already talked to the Marcia and Corinne last night, and there's a couple others that walked, but we're gonna come back if the city takes it over. And we've already got a plan, how we're gonna plan out every day. This is what we're gonna get done today. It's gonna get done tomorrow. But my main thing is, besides getting that, is to let the city know about the hidden costs. There's a lot of hidden costs that wasn't brought up in unfortunately in Mark's presentation, because, they would have, basically, they were just looking at man hours last night.
The thing that I have heard you say that causes me the most concern, because I really think we could get behind this and figure out how to get stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact that there is all of this time before that even happens,
Mhm.
we heard her say that she spends time mending fabrics.
Yep.
And there are lights to be replaced.
Yep. That's what I'm gonna be going over tomorrow. Those are the hidden costs that people don't see.
Mhm.
Winter Glow has always been, it's not, people think, oh, it comes in November and it's done in January. It's a year-round thing.
Evan.
Jen has a comment, I think.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Sorry about that. I didn't want to interrupt
that's
and,
fine.
so I I mean, listening to everything, and I wanted to kind of reiterate what Mark said. And I rewatched the council video again today to sort of study everything and soak in the comments and the conversation. And I listened to Mark McAvoy say multiple times last night that what staff is preparing for and what staff is studying for is the fact that we are basing this on no volunteers, right? So everything that was presented last night was based on all city staff time, all city staff doing this. And I think that what we have to, and I know that you're discussing that, you know, what council talked about last night is how can we incorporate sponsors? How can we incorporate volunteers? And I know that over the years I've seen in 2019, there were a load of volunteers that were super excited to get this thing going. And then after the first year, that sparked more volunteers, Trutina volunteers in particular. But then as the years went on, for a multitude of reasons, those volunteers dwindled. I think what Mark was trying to say last night is we cannot count on those volunteers helping us in this next year, in this next season, 2025. So at the very worst, at the very minimum, we have to count on city staff pulling this through. Now, if we get volunteers, fantastic, great, we'll welcome them with open arms. But for 2025, we don't know what we're going to get. Therefore, we have to fully rely on city staff and city funding, if we're going to do this, to pull this off. And so then the next conversation that city staff has amongst ourselves is, okay, are we going to scale it down? How are we going to do this? How are we going to pull it off? We're having a few conversations with Mark Saba and some of the, you know, few board members that are left that are willing to help. You know, as the future goes on, can we grow it? If we do take this over, yes, I think we can, but it's something that we have to plan for. We're government. It takes time. It takes budgets. It takes thought processing. It takes planning to build these things, to grow that. It's taken us that with Barefoot for however, we've been doing Barefoot for 10 years as our department. It takes years and years and years to build things and plan them and budget.
Lost audio.
And we lost video.
Sorry, I hit my mute button. Sorry. It takes years and years for us to work with other groups to get budgeting, to increase our planning, increase our, you know, goals of these events. Barefoot is the example. I don't know if you heard that. It's taken us 10 years to grow this event. Last year we went backwards. And so for us to try to do anything big and different next year for Winter Glow is probably unimaginable and unattainable. If we are able to take Winter Glow next year, you know, we will do the best we can to run with it and build it, but I think it's going to be a smaller scale. And I know there was some feedback last night that they didn't want that smaller scale, but we can only do what we can. And I think, to my point, and in case I was muted, Mark McAvoy was trying to establish last night that we are trying to plan moving forward with Winter Glow, if that is the case, with only city staff, because we do not know what we're going to get for volunteers. Even if we start that process in this next month with a town hall, and we can do the best we can to gain volunteers, we don't know what we're going to get. And so at the bare minimum, we have to count on city staff to be able to pull this through for 2025. Whatever we get above and beyond that is fantastic. But how do we do that? How do we, you know, I think in the end, we're still going to have a community that's like, well, what happened? Even if we do pull it off at a quarter or a half of what Winter Glow was last year, how do we explain that? How do we tell that story? Do we tell that story now? You know, we can ask and cry and beg for volunteers now. And the point was mentioned last night. Does that mean they're going to commit in October when it's time to sign up? I don't know. You know, I don't know. So I guess those are the unknowns that we don't know right now. And, you know, I don't know what the answer is to that.
I came out at the beginning, Jen. I know personally that you're right. it is going to be on a smaller scale this year, this coming year. And we know that. But my thinking is that if we could get some kind of volunteers to assist the city, I think it would help a lot.
So we've been tasked with a town hall meeting
Yes.
about this. My best thought here is that some of us, whether that's a subcommittee or Mark, or just unofficially, however we want to handle this, gets together with Jen and Parks a little bit, and we try to figure out if we're going to have a town hall meeting, what would we have there? Would it be just a call to for volunteerism? Would it be a call for sponsors? Would it be all of those things? Would it be education just to let the public know that, hey, this was a completely nonprofit volunteer event and the city is looking at taking it over? Also, there was an informal decision to sort of take it over from the city, but I don't know that that was officially voted on, take it, anything official, right? It was just a sort of general consensus that everyone likes the holiday lights. So to me, I think we need a little more something from city council as far as what is it they want to do. Are they prepared to spend money this year officially? Just what does that look like? Yeah, I mean, that's my first thought, is that we need to, some of us need to continue this conversation with the specifics involving city council and what that and parks and what that really looks like. And something else on that too.
I think our experience teaches us that getting that, integrating with city, so generating ideas and getting feedback from city council is most efficiently done probably through Mark McAvoy.
Mhm.
And then he will know if indeed we need to be in front of the entire city council, but
Sure.
in the meantime, that's it.
And the second thing was that date. We have some open dates that we could speak to them again. And again, that could be after. Some of us have some actual thoughtful, work
But-
behind this. Is
But
that?
they want it before Memorial Day.
Well, they said before Memorial Day, if we can get it before school starts. That's
Yeah.
Mayor brought it.
And I
Jen's
if
on.
I'm so sorry, if I may, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but I think that we need to involve the Parks and Arts Commission in this, and I think that could
Absolutely.
add,
Oh, I'm sorry. I
do
thought
too.
it was.
add
think we
to-
need to
yeah.
involve them.
I thought
it will
I'm
add
sorry, I
another
thought I said that.
dimension because they are in the ordinance. They oversee all things community events at the end of the day. And so I think if you have their perspective combined with yours, and maybe it takes a combination at the town hall of Parks and Arts Commission and Community Engagement Commission, or maybe it takes the next council meeting, May 6th, whenever it was that they asked us to bring it back, of some representatives from both commissions to share multiple and different viewpoints to help the council make a final decision, because
Good
they
idea.
were very supportive last night, but no one made a decision. And I think on May 6th, they're going to hopefully be educated enough to make a decision. But I think it's going to take both commissions. And I think that Commissioner Nancy Hill is there this evening. And the Parks and Arts Commission hasn't had the leisure of hearing this conversation yet, because the council meeting was just last night. And the Winter Glow discussion was just last night. And we don't have another meeting until May 5th, which is the night before the May 6th council meeting. So this is all very rushed. And that is a little bit unfortunate, but that's the world that we work in. So I think we sort of have to scramble and pick ourselves up from our bootstraps and figure this out together. And I think that the commission, and I'm taking a chance speaking out on behalf of the commission, that I think they want to be fully involved in this decision, and have a say in it, have a say whether they want to support moving forward with the council approving Winter Glow or not. We haven't even had that discussion, and so you're having this discussion ahead of them, and you're having it from the perspective of how do we engage community. But I think that the Parks and Arts Commission could also have a very powerful say in this from a different perspective and help support the Community Engagement Commission in this discussion.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jen, that we got to have collaboration between both commissions, between
Yep.
us and yours
Definitely.
on that.
Jen, can I
Yeah.
ask you a question? Do
You
you
bet.
feel like, because there, man hours aside for like putting the displays up, do you feel like you have capacity in your role to take on planning and executing something like this?
So I've spoken, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to
I
cut you
mean,
off.
do we, because he was talking about, the hours that were available, and it looked like there was very little like time available in people's schedule to even do something like this. Not trying to like torpedo it, but I don't want to make it so it's the Parks Department is overloaded and takes on something that they don't actually have capacity for.
Sure, I appreciate that. So I've had further conversations with staff today, and I've said to my staff, do you think we can do this? And my staff, I'm not the expert in this world. My staff, my recreation coordinator, my park superintendent, and their staff, those guys are the expert. And so it's going to take all of us together to say, can we do this? From the recreation coordinator perspective, which Mikkel, he's on here, and please feel free to weigh in. He's like, I can handle the sponsorships. I can go out and follow up with businesses to help with that. And that was the part that scared me the most. It's not the manpower to do it. It's like, okay, well, can we do the manpower to set everything up? If we have a heavy snow year, which we have not had in many, many, many years, yes, we could do it. Could we do it this first year to the degree of what it was last year? Probably not, because we're new. We're trying to figure it out. We don't know how it's going to fit in. So I'd say for the first year, regardless, and we're calling it the transition year. Me and my staff are calling it the transition year. No, our expectation would be, can we get to at least a quarter or half of what it was last year? Yeah, we feel like we could if we have the support of those 5 or 6 volunteers, which they have shared with us they would be committed to helping us. If we have a heavy snow year, that changes everything, because that becomes our number one priority. What's the chance of that? Who knows? And so that's what scares me the most, is if we had a heavy snow year on this first year, we would really have to pull in volunteers. Now, is that impossible? No. Mark Saba, is that impossible? If we got a heavy snow year and city staff absolutely could not be there to physically help set up, we would call out all hands on deck in volunteer world as much as we possibly could, because we wouldn't want to let the community down. But our priority is snow removal in that sense. If we don't have snow removal, we're working on projects, we're cleaning up, we're organizing. So yes, we can balance between the two. The first year, I don't foresee it being the grand thing that it was last year, because I think that's something that we have to learn. We have to understand. We have to, understand what our capacity is to be able to do that. So it's kind of a balance of the first year learning curve, along with what potential snow and weather Mother Nature will bring us or not. And those are unknowns that we can't predict. And then the volunteer crowd, that's another huge unpredictable element to all of this that we don't know. And as we've seen with Winterglow over the last 5 years, it has dwindled, and we've revived that. I don't know. If we could, it'd be great. If we didn't have snow, it'd be great. If we could put all hands on deck on park staff, it'd be great. But those are so many unknowns, which Mark McAvoy was kind of sharing last night. We have too many unknowns in this first transition year.
So what does then, just a general question, that city council tasked us with this town hall, and including, yes, Jen's group and us, what does this look like, and what are our next steps?
So I think we need a little team Winterglow, whether that's an official subcommittee or just a Mark and helpers.
I'd be happy to help.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah.
Just you have that, start to work with, figure out with Parks and Arts Commission and the Parks Department, and figure out what our realistic steps are and getting it back through Mark, through council. If we want to prepare some questions or some numbers or whatever it looks like back to city council so they can make an official decision, and then back to us again. It's us doing the town hall meeting with that information and doing our best to help. Does anybody have anything further on that?
No, I think those are good next steps. I don't
Because the
think.
further we get, it's
Yeah,
not going to help
I
anyone.
can tell you it won't happen next week.
Sure,
I'm out of the country, so.
sure. And that,
I'll be back on the 27th, so, the week of the 28th, I'm wide open.
Okay.
And but like I said, I'm meeting with Mikkel tomorrow.
great,
It'll be very informal.
sure.
But it's something that I think we can kind of let a base off of. And if Nancy would like to hook up, maybe when I get back, Nancy, or someone within your commission would be interested.
Robin too.
Yep, Robbie. And then I know that there is a couple other people that I'm aware of that would like to be involved with it. That's
Great.
Volunteers. So yeah, it's something that as for volunteers, I think at the town hall, I think that's where we need to start talking, because last year, the volunteers that we had, the base volunteers that we had last year were from the Girl Scouts,
Mhm,
the Mormon Church,
mhm.
Ridgeline DECA, CV DECA, the Kiwanis. So we did have a nice
Sure.
nucleus of base, but we need, what we need to do is if we can get the city behind us, which I think we can.
Yeah.
That type of thing. If we can, if we can get 4 days, and I'm talking 2 weekends
Mhm.
of bam.
Yeah.
We can get this thing off, and it won't be as, like Jen said, I have to agree with Jen. It won't be as spectacular as it was last year, but it will be nice. We'll make it nice, and it will be something that, something that we can grow from.
Yeah.
But we gotta let, like Jen said, we might need to let the public know that, hey, this.
Again, I think
it's
that's a big part of
something
the
that we're gonna have
town
to-
hall meeting.
Yeah,
and-
we're gonna have to let them know at the town hall.
Okay, well, let's Team Winterglow it as we can and let us know how we can be helpful as
Okay.
we get closer.
I can help
Okay,
with that.
sounds good.
Awesome. And Logan's interested in helping out with that too.
I'd
Okay.
be curious to know, you said 5 to 7 leads. Is there any construction background with these leads, or is it mainly just volunteers?
It's just a bunch of old farts. Honestly, yeah, it's but they're very knowledgeable of what we do out there.
Okay.
And, yeah.
I'd be curious because I'm from construction. I know that we partner with, food banks, and I feel like this would be right up the alley of
Sure,
construction companies.
sure.
Yeah.
Electricians, superintendents, carpenters,
Gotcha.
laborers, especially if they make it
We'll be talking.
one day a year or 2 days a year.
Absolutely.
I think that'd
Absolutely.
be.
You
beneficial.
bet. That's
In my old town, we had, we put up Christmas lights, but then there was also, we had a community event, called Sage and Sun. And they had it for over 100 years, and, lack of volunteerism, they shut it down and stopped having, and there was outcry, and really they just came out and they said, we didn't have enough people volunteer to put it on. And people when they saw that it wasn't going to happen, came forward and, put it together, and it was smaller in scale than it was previously, but they still have it annually, and they still have parades and stuff like that. But I would contact like volunteer fire departments and stuff too. Those people are always looking to help. Just
Yeah.
from my background, the firefighters and stuff would go help put up lights and stuff like that. So
Awesome.
Kevin?
Yeah, so one last comment. You said you think about putting a winter glow committee together on the community engagement side. I would propose that committee come to our next commission meeting, and we propose putting a winter glow committee together on the Parks and Arts side, so that we can have 2 teams focusing from each commission that are kind of working together, that can really dial in and focus on this, because this is such a short notice, quick paced thing that the council really is gonna want answers on, and I know that our next meeting isn't until May 5th, but if
May
at May
5th?
5th, somebody could come to our meeting, you know, your Winter Glow team could come to our meeting,
Yeah,
and then
that's my hope here.
Yep.
yeah, and then we say, okay, we're gonna put together our own Winter Glow teams to work with your Winter Glow team, and this is a priority for them. Maybe that's something that might go somewhere.
Yeah,
Just a
Yes,
thought.
I think
Great.
that's what we're
yeah. yeah,
aiming
we can
towards
do
for
that.
sure.
Okay, excellent, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
It's
you.
gonna take a village.
David
I
Gainer.
got a question for Jen, maybe also to Nancy. If we have this dual subcommittee, I'm just throwing out the possibility here because the request for a Memorial Day-ish date for this event, for this town hall. City council meets on May 6th. Would it be possible, I'm just throwing this idea out there, think about it, to have the subcommittee meet for the first time right after the Parks and Arts Commission meeting on the 5th? No?
Yeah, that's kind of short notice because we don't know who's gonna be on that. I think. Yeah, this thing is so fast paced and we're not used to that in government. I think that, I think that honestly, we're gonna have to do the best we can on May 6th and staff, me, Mikkel, are up to speed on this and we can help present all of this to council on May 6th, even though that then these new Winter Glow Commission committees haven't officially met yet. So we can say that to council on the next day after the Parks and Arts Commission meeting. We'd say, hey, you know, community engagement is willing to put together this kind of winter glow committee. Parks and Arts Commission, hopefully at that time, will have said, yes, let's put together this winter glow committee, bringing them up to speed. And I have kind of started tagging them along in emails as to what was going on starting from last night. So it won't be brand new to them. We just won't have discussed it. We won't have included, hey, who wants to be on this committee? So I say we go to May 6th and we say, this is what we've done as two commissions. We want to combine the two commissions as two committees into one group that will focus on this Winter Glow thing. And while we may not still have answers on May 6th for the council, at least it will help them know that we're moving forward. We have a bigger village behind us willing to investigate and push through this along with city staff, obviously, because city staff is still tasked with bringing back more information. So, I mean, I honestly, in my mind, I think that's the best we can do. You know, these commissions are volunteers. You know, these commissions are volunteers and I'm so grateful that everybody's willing to do what they can. But I think we have to mind that and respect that. And I think the council will mind that and respect that at the end of the day. And on May 6th, if we say that we have this committee behind us willing to push forward through and say we have a town hall on, I don't know, May 26th, I don't know, throwing that out there. And both of these committees are willing to be there to help ask these questions from the different perspectives of both commissions. I think that they would be satisfied with that. That may not prove all the answers that they're looking for, but it will help establish that we are working hard to find all the answers and, push forward to seeing how this could happen. Sorry if that was long-winded.
No, I think it's a great action plan. So I think we're good. And I think everyone knows more. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
Yep.
I'm excited.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Nancy, do you have anything that you want to? Okay. I figure we can just bother you after with it. Okay. Can we move on to farmers market?
Mhm.
Okay. Farmers market expectations and signups.
What?
Didn't we decide last time we have a little bit less in the expectations department for
Yes.
our signups and our?
Yeah, I think.
Well,
Do we have
didn't planning commission come out with they got there, and I think they're already there. See you, Nancy. We'll be in touch.
Bye.
I think they're already signed up for the first day. No reason for us to be there.
Is there a sign up that's online? I mean, How do we know who signed up?
Miguel is using the same list as last year.
Right.
We just haven't pushed it out there yet.
Well, I saw a schedule though from
You seen it?
Lisa.
Okay.
Brought out a schedule, showed the.
When are we
what
gonna
days-
launch that schedule then? So
I
we
don't
all
know, I saw a schedule, it came from the planning commission of what days that they were going to be at the farmer's market,
Oh,
so.
okay.
So just to catch y'all up, previously, there's a booth at Farmers Market and often the mayor is there answering questions, for the city. There are, members of our commission, other commissions, there's a sort of a cap of how many people can be there. We've been working it out through the last couple of years of what that looks like. We found that we were there way too much. We didn't need to be there the whole time. We were doing it in pairs of 2 for the whole entire time. We started splitting it up between other commissions a little more. And I think we kind of came to a consensus that we just don't need to be there as much. It's valuable. We're there answering questions. Robin's got this great flip chart with different prompts and, dots and things and
green,
and
red, and pink
our,
and
our
orange.
engagement,
Yeah.
style there. We also talked about maybe going outside of the booth a little bit more this year. We've all got badges, you'll have a badge, and walking around a little bit more when somebody's staying in the city booth, engaging people really in that way and directing them back to the booth. The booth typically has a map, of the city where there's different people always have questions about what's going on here or there, and the library will be there too. Is that a good enough recap of what's been?
We just have the tent can only hold so many people. And so we have to sign up because you're right, you have a diverse groups. We're gonna have the planning commission, probably the parks commission. Definitely the libraries there because they're out there doing book sales and soirees. So, and then we're there and just like what Summer said. So that's why the schedule. is
We did
what it
sign
is.
up. We switched over to Sign Up Genius. Is that what happened, or do we have an Excel? We switched over to Sign Up Genius, and it was just a general email sign up when you want to participate. Is pretty much where we left it. And I guess that's already hasn't been sent out.
I haven't seen a new one yet.
Okay. So
So is
Yeah.
that like 1 or 2?
So I
per
thought
market
that last year
this
Mikkel
summer?
sent
Or
out
like, what's the
a,
expectation there is like, how many you want us to?
So we were,
Yeah.
no joke, we were there. I took last year off of it, but somebody was there like every
We
single.
had 2-hour shifts,
Robin and I.
every,
were there quite a
two
bit.
2-hour shifts every Saturday.
But no, I mean, again, this is totally whenever you would want to do it. That we have other things like Barefoot in the Park where some of us choose certain events that just work better for us or that we like doing more. No specific expectations, but it is, I mean, at least 1 or 2 times, it is at least one time. It's a really great way to kind of see what that looks like. And there's a lot of valuable engagement there.
sometimes they're
potentially.
busier than others.
Yeah.
And the idea that we could go just individually. I don't mean willy-nilly, but as a planned thing, that we could go and just wander around the farmer's market, which is very nice. It's a great place to eat. But have conversations with people. And as an example, as our Winter Glow idea matures, this may not be a good idea, but it would be nice to find out if we could talk with people over the period of a little while and come back with any information that seems valid.
And then we put it in a green notebook that Bill did that is now gone.
The one that's lost.
Let's not talk about
I
that.
know, we can't.
Let me know. We don't know where it is.
But I do have a question of David. Now, Mikkel, when we were signing up, it was in an Excel spreadsheet
Yeah,
last year.
I think Sign Up Genius was
The
2 years
idea.
ago.
Okay, we
That-
did
that-
sign up Jesus, and then we just had a fillables.
Yeah.
So,
Excel.
yeah, because, so do we have that or is that,
I think Mikkel's planning to use the same one, and for
Okay.
Leigh and Logan's benefit to know this. I don't think this has been mentioned yet. Those were done up as 4 slots per 2-hour time period, which meant this group can sign up Planning Commission could sign up, Parks and Arts Commission could sign up, City Council could sign up. They've had school board members sign up. The mayor is usually always there. So it's not just relying on this group.
Right.
Gotcha.
And I would also say, don't worry so much about the signing up and the slots. That's really to just be that there's too many bodies under a tent. If you're free on a Saturday, come down, spend some time talking with whoever's in the booth, do your thing. Don't be too worried about that at this point. It was more it was more just about bodies in a tent and people also feeling like they didn't need to be there all
Speaking
the
of
time.
farmers market, what did they decide at the workshop last night?
City Council did vote to allow candidates for city elections who are having an opponent in the race to still be able to be at farmers market, which I think is a switch from 2 years ago.
Yep. It would, if any of us do that, and you come back from the experience with something to say, it might be good to put notes in an email so that they're captured and we see what you.
And we do an official-ish farmer's market update on our agenda when it's the season. Whether we have a prompt question and we have some answers from that, or just a little verbal report of how it went or what we learned, kind of a thing. So I think if we continue to keep that on our agenda with a farmer's market update, I think that's good.
I think the survey we're gonna have at this year's farmers market's gonna be the Toys at Pavilion.
Sure.
I think that's gonna be the biggie.
There's also going to be probably some sign code engagement with that
Yep.
from Lisa's staff,
That's right.
as well as the comprehensive plan questions.
Anything else on farmer's market? All right, D, amending CEC membership requirements in ordinance 277, section 2B3 and 2C. Martin.
Yeah, that's what I brought up. Just I think we're all getting a little tired of not having a full commission. We've been here for going on 3 years now. And I think we ought to do away with demographics or geographics, I mean. And just because city council doesn't have we're the only commission that has geographics. No other commission has geographics. So I think we ought to make a suggestion. It has to go through city council, but I think we ought to just do away with the geographics and let's just take on citizens of Liberty Lake.
And can we remind us and for our new members, what was our last change? We had kind of,
Last change we
at
did-
large.
Yeah, the last change we did, we had 2 people for every area and
Page
then one
3.
at large.
That's the last
No.
page you have.
Page
The
3.
last page.
Yeah, so we changed that.
Yeah, we
So we have
changed
one
it.
for each of.
Here it is,
4.
yeah, here it is. It's all redlined here. Thanks, David. We now only have 1 member from each of the 4 areas and then 5 at large.
I think we've solved it. Well,
Well, we haven't been able to get anyone to replace Aaron from Rocky Hills. So, that's why I brought, Mark McAvoy brought it up to me, when I was speaking with him in his office last month. And he brought that up and, I figured, when I found out the other commissions and the city council, they got positions, but they mean nothing. They're just position numbers. And we're the only ones that's got geographics, and it's held us back from having people come in and, so I think we ought to redline everything and just have 9 people from the city of Liberty Lake. Or if you're an employer and live outside of the city, then, you're more than welcome also. Hence our newest
I'm
member.
like 3 houses outside the.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But, that's what I mean.
Sure.
We'll keep those regulations the same, but, I just think we ought to just get rid of the geographics and go.
Now, I don't disagree with you. I'm just curious. Initially, do we think or do we know the spirit of the appointment, the geographic appointments? Was it for some sort of equality, or was it for engagement? Was it to really try to be engaged in those specific areas, which I know we've talked about certain points that might include Tritina, or specifically, you know, the apartments or something like that was specific to reach different demographics or things like that. And if we're going to lose that, is there something that we need to consider, or is it just a personal decision to try to represent your area?
Honestly, I don't think it's, if there's someone who wants to represent their area, that, you know, come on forth, you know, step up. But honestly, I think we're all citizens and we care, you know, just because you and I live in the ghetto and Bill lives up in the South Hill and, you know,
It's
and
down on
Robin lives
us.
in the River District, doesn't mean I feel any different about Legacy Ridge versus River District versus Meadowwood. You know, it's Liberty Lake and we're all one of Liberty Lake. Why separate into small sectors, you know? Maybe this, I think we all should just look at it as not just our little niche of the world. We ought to look at it, you know, as one big, happy little city.
May I?
Yes, thank you.
May I? I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay, but you
I
live
can-
in Otis Orchards,
What's that?
but you live in Otis Orchard.
I know. So
Then in
I'm
that
looking
case,
from Otis
no, you
Orchard.
can't.
Go ahead, Jen. What do you-
So I was part of the implementation in the writing of the ordinance for the Community Engagement Commission when Katie Allen and Annie Kurtz first started this whole idea. And the reason for that was we duplicated basically what the Parks and Arts Commission already had in place ordinance wise. So it mimicked what the Parks and Arts Commission had. So that as a history lesson, that's where that came from.
Yeah.
There's no right, no wrong.
Do they still have
It
that?
was simple. It was simply a matter of how do we bring this new commission on and how do we form it? What do we mimic it like? And it literally came from the Parks and Arts Commission's basic ordinance back from 2018. So
They're still like that?
You don't have, you don't have geographics, do you? Requirements?
we do, yes. So in the Parks and Arts Commission, it's
I was told you didn't.
it's a representation of one from Rocky Hill Park, one from Pavilion Park, one from Orchard Park, one at large, and I
Well,
can't
it's the
remember.
Yeah.
I see.
I can't remember what the others are.
That's
But
right.
yeah, we based it upon what we already had with the Parks and Arts Commission, which was also very new at the time.
Right.
So that was the only reason for how we built the original ordinance slash I don't know, regulations and rules of what we built the Community Engagement Commission on.
Okay.
So I do though have some comments on that. Is that if the community engagement is, and we have members on like in a certain area, okay, we'll just take the River District, for example. Because then is it better to, if we have no, I guess, geographical distinctions, then at least if someone's coming on new to the commission, that can be at least a consideration of geographical distinction. If you have, like if you have another person from the River District but you have somebody else that lived in that area where Aaron's at, that might be that we keep that criteria and distinction there, because I still think it's good when we can have members of the different areas of Liberty Lake. I think it adds diversity. Sorry, that's just my
But you know,
plug
on
for
the flip
Patricia.
side of that, Robin, we haven't had people knocking down the door to get into this commission.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So possibly when new members, and if you have like several people who want to become members, that might just be a criteria of geographical distinctions that say, oh, wait, we need to think too about this. That's all.
Well, down the road, we can look at that, but in the meantime, let's get our commission filled.
Yeah,
Because unfortunately, it looks like we're gonna lose. Well, I don't know, where are we at with?
So that was
I'm
gonna be
not
my
gonna
next,
say during the public
that was gonna be my next, I was gonna,
Okay, because, yeah, we're gonna be losing some people down the road, I think. And, just,
So the Parks and Arts the Parks and Arts Commission had, the geographical separation. And we went through the same thing that you're going through, where we couldn't get people from, say, Trutina to refill the spot that was representing Orchard Park or, River District. We ended up just letting the geographical go. And when we would interview somebody and promote them to a commission position, we would say, okay, even though you are in the Rocky Hill area, you are going to represent the Orchard Park
Yeah.
geographical, whatever. So it's informal. It's formal, but it's informal. And that's how we worked through it with the Parks and Arts Commission, because we also have our geographical set boundaries. It doesn't require them to live in those areas. So if somebody from the Pavilion Park area wants to apply to a commission position that is actually an Orchard Park representative commission position, we just say, okay, we'll interview you because we need you, and you're going to represent Orchard Park.
Okay.
And in our meetings, that doesn't really, everybody's all in for all parks. So at the end of the day, I think is if we were to rewrite our ordinance, we might reconsider that whole consideration, but they're just sharing that with you.
Yep, thanks.
Well,
I do like the diversity of viewpoints and people representing their neighborhoods, but once again, you kind of have to take what you can get.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I said, as new members come in and other members go out, that can just be in the interviewing process, one of those criteria to think about. That's all.
I do have to admit that I never think of myself as representing the southwestern quadrant of the city.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I feel the same way. I've always felt like I represent the city of Liberty.
Well, yeah, and I feel that I certainly feel that way. I do think there is something to be said, maybe not for this group, but in general, that there is a position of community engagement assigned to certain areas. There's something about that is interesting to me, that sort of makes it official in some way, instead of just a question and then up to, I don't know. There's some, to me, there is something interesting.
Could we rewrite it so we have at least so many from north of I-90 and so many south of I-90? Because I feel like that's the biggest sticking point generally, where maybe Trutina and people in the River District feel like
Sure.
they're
Somehow
not
not
necessarily
treated as a
part of the
barrier.
city,
Yeah.
and just making sure we have at least a certain number of representatives from the north side of I-90.
I mean, I do think that is the clearest divide. I found that it's interesting for me to see people in different little micro pockets, and the more I've become engaged here, the more I've seen what that looks like. Earlier, I would have maybe seen that was the divide, but now I do see the different neighborhoods as being distinct a little bit, or having different needs, or
Because
Different HOAs.
like, I'm not ever going to probably go to an HOA meeting over in Meadowwood Technology. I'm gonna stick with the River District.
That's probably a
So-
smart thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna go either.
Yeah, I don't-
Yeah.
We can't go
Yeah.
because we have our meetings. Our
So,
HOA
but I
meetings
mean,
on
so
Mondays.
you are gonna know more about your neighborhood. I know more about my neighborhood than
Yeah.
I'm ever going to. So there is, if possible, I'm just saying, it's a good criteria to add as we're interviewing
If you
people.
want to keep it the way it is, let's keep it the way it is.
That's all. No, I mean, I don't
Sure.
mind removing it, and taking it so we can get a commission. And I'm just saying that, just think about it when we're interviewing.
I guess I had a question that kind of got brought up was during the whole entire process for us, I've kind of witnessed you guys talking about this issue. I guess to that point, would you guys have turned either of us away because we were in the wrong neighborhood?
Under our,
That's what, the way I'm reading that is basically saying, yeah,
Yeah.
you're in the wrong neighborhood.
Yep.
You can't be a part of this
You can't be a part of it.
volunteer position.
that's how it was when we first started.
I will say though, when we were faced with that, we quickly changed things.
Yeah,
So
right,
just,
right.
Having a revision.
yes,
The one.
We only had one at-large position when we started.
Right, yeah.
That's it.
We made changes based on need. I mean,
Right.
that's how we did it.
Exactly.
So I mean, I guess that point, like what Mark's saying, they're volunteers, right? So we want to include people of Liberty Lake, but kind of what Lee was saying, is there a way that we could reword it of there's a goal to expand, this group to a larger radius than what we currently have, or is there a way that you could kind of reword that so that, you included everybody, not just from one neighborhood?
Or you could say like priority will be given to candidates in neighborhoods that are not currently representative, just have like the different
Yeah.
zones.
Right.
Sure.
Mhm.
But if nobody comes forward, you can still
Take
put
what
somebody
you,
in.
take what you can get, yeah.
I think it's that really, yeah, it's really easy to remedy. And then, Mark, you're right. We need to continue and not be quite so, I guess, selective per the ordinance, but then we have to recognize as more people want to come in, that they're going to be able to represent another area, and they should be given priority.
But we don't have to appoint every applicant.
To
I
a
mean,
certain
there's still
area.
the
yeah.
screening. So if we say, no, we already have, 2 Trutina people, we feel like adding a third one would make it too overweight there, we're gonna turn this person away. You guys, the mayor and the board has the say in that.
Do you need to think about it for a month?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, let's think about it.
Yeah, because we're fine now.
Yeah,
Right
we're okay.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we got a quorum.
Yeah, with 2 more new members.
Yeah, 2 more,
We're
yeah.
Good, man.
Sure.
Before you guys came aboard, there was a couple of meetings that we weren't sure if we were gonna have a.
There was one that was not held
What it was,
in
that's
December.
right.
Mhm.
So was the
December.
geographic reason because I applied, I want to say back in, when was the town hall?
No, I think there was some
September.
other
Okay.
unrelated to individual stuff. I think they're just the timing of everybody, stuff,
It was
other.
I mean, the
things.
staff here just went, I mean, and pretty much a lot of things came to a standstill because of it. Yeah.
We weren't the priority.
No, yeah, we weren't that.
No, and and I would say
I
that
would say
in
that.
general, the spirit of us, we've been excited every time we've had anyone even give any interest whatsoever at this point. So I don't see us turning
Raise their
anyone.
hand at
Yeah,
it.
we're like, hey, come on, come on, come back.
You
Breathe.
gave it a pretty good sell. at the
We
town hall.
tried. It was me and Bill.
Like,
You got a heartbeat, you can come on.
You
aboard.
like people.
And
Come
that's why you
on
want to
in.
have another town hall, right?
Yeah, yeah, and again, and that's and to David's point, these town hall meetings, obviously, we're there for the task at hand, right? But that's where we're meeting our people, and that's where we're engaging, and our side of things, it's an important event for us to meet people and to to talk about our other points.
Good work, Summer, because I was shopping for volunteerism and I chose.
You
for
said
that.
it, Bill and I kind of like. Okay, so yeah, let's continue to think about it, but I think in general, we've all kind of loosely agreed that if there's any need and for some reason, any of parts of our ordinance don't fit, we know that this is all very new and we're still in that precedent setting place where we can make adjustments and ask for some changes too if we need to.
Do you want this on the agenda for next month? again?
Yes.
Yeah, let's keep it on there. And then just while we're still on this, we have position 5, Cynthia is on an excused leave. This is our 3 months. We did 3 months. Does anybody have any thoughts? I don't need to put any
I've-
personal business out here,
I've
but
been talking with her, and that's
Okay.
all I'll say for this moment. So.
okay.
con-
So
Consider us on the road to something.
so maybe we
Yeah,
can,
consider what did you say?
Consider that we are on the road to something.
Okay.
so
What does that mean?
well, we're all
all
publicly
I wanna
talking about
say.
somebody's private life, so we don't know anything
I
about
see.
anyone's plans or lives.
Okay.
But I'm just pointing out the public version of it here is that we do have a position that we have said is on excused leave. This is the time frame for that. So maybe we'll find out some updates and see where we're at by next meeting.
I think so.
I think,
Does
yeah, I think,
anyone?
yeah, I think we ought to wait till next meeting and make a decision.
Okay, great. Because
Oh,
we
yeah.
did, this was when we were gonna,
It's okay.
Reassess. So this is us reassessing.
Extended 3.
Great.
I'm almost certain you will have the information by then.
that sounds great to me.
Okay, that's good.
Just doing my
I
due
see what you're
diligence.
saying. Just what
But
you're
if you're
saying,
listening to Cynthia, thanks for all your help and
We miss you.
we miss you.
Yeah, we
um,
miss you so much.
Okay, can we move on to E? Any other upcoming opportunities?
No, except for the ones that were just mentioned with Winter Glow and trying to get that subcommittee. I think we should just stay on that path and put that on for the next agenda.
Okay,
For my note taking, who specifically was volunteered for the subcommittee? Was it? Logan,
Logan,
Mark,
Robin, and Mark. And then obviously whoever, Parks and Arts Commission and Parks Department, all, the logical group for this. And I think we can loosely call that Team Winterglow. If we'd like, and get t-shirts, incentives, I don't know.
So is this gonna be our focus for the next like couple of months and then like switch over to library?
So in general, I would say that when we do subcommittee stuff, it goes outside a little bit, comes back in to each meeting, kind of gets checked in. We all get updates within that. We continue with our regular agenda. I think there's just so much that is getting figured out. We're just going to hear what ends up happening and kind of keep working on that. The next town hall meeting, it sounds like they were already giving us a little hint that if they had more information and if it was appropriate, we might do another town hall meeting based on library and community center, etc. I would say we're just gonna wait until this first chunk is done, and if there's anything else that comes up that needs our attention. In the meantime, anything with the master plan for parks that's happening, or any of the general master plan stuff that comes our way, and anything that that's in the master plan stuff that's happening, I think.
That's
and-
just on pause right now. I think it's best just
Yeah.
to say that's on pause. Let's just not until we hear.
as it comes to us, and as asks come directly to us, we'll bring them into our agenda and figure them out, just like we did today. But at this point, it's whatever's coming to us, I think.
Yeah.
Is there anything else upcoming that we are missing, need to think about? Any strange deadlines we've set for ourselves, like 3 months on leave, that sort of stuff? Anything? Okay, unless there is anything else, I would say let's end the meeting and we'll see you next time.
Your new mark to beat summer is 7:50.
7:49. All right, good night.